Today, I am so excited and thrilled to be joined by an incredible guest, Chef Kathy Fang. You might know her as the mastermind behind the award winning Fang Restaurant in San Francisco, or from her appearances on the Food Network, where her culinary skills and creative dishes have wowed audiences across the globe. In this episode, Kathy takes us behind the scenes of her journey, growing up in a family of restaurateurs, blending traditional Chinese cuisine with modern innovation and, of course, a healthy twist, and the challenges and triumphs of building a culinary empire. She truly gives us the inside clean truth of being a mom and a successful entrepreneur. You guys, when Chef Kathy Fang came to my house, she and I hit it off instantly. And not only is she physically stunning, her skin is flawless, but she is just so beautiful on the inside. She gave me such incredible advice, such sound advice, and we really hit it off. And it is just so exciting to know. And I just feel so honored that someone who is so successful would sit down with me and really share and give us inside tips and tricks on how she has done it. So, Chef Kathy Fang, welcome to the show. I adore you, and I hope everyone you enjoy this episode. Chef Kathy Fang, thank you so much for being here. I have been looking forward to this for so long, like truly, like so long. What I love about you. Okay, so I watched your episodes on Chopped. I obviously watched Chef Dynasty, and now meeting you in person and also stalking you on social media. You have the cutest personality.
Thank you.
No, like you are so cute. You're so nice. Like things that you post, like she is so sweet. You have a beautiful family. And then one thing that everyone will notice the second they see you is like your skin is flawless. Like it is flawless. Like what's it like to be so good at so many things?
Oh my God. I don't actually think in those terms.
Well, you should.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to like hear all those things put together and be like, oh, people actually think this of you. So thank you. That just totally made my day. Like I said, I don't think about it. I just do the things that I care about, from running the restaurant to if I want to share a cooking video on Instagram, it's really just sharing something that I have a passion for, right? Like that morning, I'm passionate about salads. So I'm going to make a video about a salad and I'll be myself. And we'll probably talk about this later. My dad plays a big influence in my life. And one thing my dad's always told me to do is to always like be yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Don't ever feel pressure to have to change who you are or be intimidated to alter the person that you are. Mm-hmm. It's important to stay true to yourself because people will receive that. Authenticity is something that's very important. It gives you value and credibility and relatability. So I think I just stick to that. And in terms of like my skin and things, I'm just like all women, right? I'm always like trying different things. And I just want to make sure I age gracefully. And
you have some secret potions or powders in your arsenal because oh my God, I'm so jealous.
I don't think I have secret potions. I think it's really like maybe the way that I live daily. Yes. And what I do, what I put in my body. I think that makes more of a difference than sometimes what you put on your skin.
That's huge. Mm-hmm. You are originally from San Francisco, born and raised.
Yes.
Give us a little background. So being born and raised in San Francisco with your dad starting House of Nanking, what was that like growing up? What was your day-to-day with that?
So first, I was actually born in Chinatown, San Francisco, the Chinese hospital specifically, which is still there. So my entire life, I feel like I've spent it within that small little neighborhood. I think it's about like 14 blocks, huge. And I've basically done everything there. Like I learned how to cook there, being in my dad's restaurant. My first exposure to movies and videos was like in the first theater that's in Chinatown as well. My first haircut was there. My dentist is still in Chinatown. My ophthalmologist was in Chinatown until he retired. And so like I think my upbringing was very integrated to like my cultural roots. I grew up essentially in kind of a mini Chinese. It's like a mini Chinese community outside of China, essentially. So it's very special. I don't take any of that for granted, and I think that makes me the person that I am. But obviously, I didn't go to school there. I ended up going to school outside of Chinatown, and that was my exposure to American culture. I was like going to school, and then eventually I spent less time there because like school, academics, sports, all that started to take part of my life. And then I was like, wow, there's like another side of me, and I embraced the other side and the beauty of everything that's around us that we call San Francisco, that we call home.
And then you went to college at USC.
Yes.
Right on. I love that. And you said something on your TV show that I thought was so cute, because some of us, cough cough, can relate. You didn't, right after college, you didn't go straight into starting a restaurant. You worked corporate.
Yes.
And you said something that I think resonates with a lot of young women right now, that sometimes working for corporate is soul crushing.
Yes.
So how did you create messaging towards your parents of like, hey, corporate world isn't for me. I see myself going into the restaurant industry like with what I grew up in?
I actually didn't put a ton of thought behind it. I kind of just said, you know what, I just need to lay it all down for my dad in one conversation and not make this scary for them, because you have to understand, USC is very expensive. And my parents basically worked all their lives in the restaurant to make enough money to support me and be able to put me through like top-notch education. And for me to then come back and say, so yeah, you know how I studied business? Just not going to do that anymore. You know, they're like, wow, that is a very expensive oops. So I'm like, okay, I just need to make this very clear so there's no like wondering of anything. I told them I want to move back to, I first said I want to move back to San Francisco, and that makes every Chinese parent happy.
Yeah.
Like, start with the good news.
Yeah. A compliment.
Yeah.
Good news.
Start with the good news. I'm coming home. Woohoo! Right? Did you find a job there? Yeah.
Do you have a
What
boyfriend?
company? Yeah. What company are you working for? I'm like, there's more. I'm gonna be moving into your home. Another thing that makes them very happy.
Okay.
Okay. I know that might be different for other cultures. Like other cultures, like my husband's like, no, I want our kids out of our house by the time they are 18. Like they need to be self-sufficient. Chinese parents are like, please come live with us like forever kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I started with those two things.
Okay.
Very happy.
Smart.
Then I followed up with, yeah, so I quit my job. Okay. And I want to come back to the family business. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. Why is that? What happened? And I simply told them, I don't really like what I'm doing anymore. I thought I did, and it just doesn't make me happy. I honestly really love food, and I just want to come back and actually just get started in the place where I fell in love with food, which is House of Nanking. And so I actually ended up working there for a full year, every single day at House of Nanking.
Oh, wow.
And I lived with my parents. I spent a lot of time with them. And my dad's very observant. He's a very smart man. He can tell if, I'm just like there because I can't figure out what I want to do. By seeing me at work, he can tell, oh, wow, okay, she is really committed. Like she is clearly enjoying being at the restaurant. Can she cook? Can she create? Can she do all the things that like my dad can do? And he felt very satisfied with that. And on top of that, my dad tells me now, and he never told me this prior when I was growing up, because when I was growing up, being like a chef was not considered admirable, right? Taking over the Chinese restaurant is not considered prestigious. They want you to go and be a doctor. They want you to be a lawyer, right? Like they immigrated here so that I could have a better education and not have to do the hard work that they are doing. Mm-hmm. It's considered manual labor. There used to be a joke that if you can't cut it in education in our Chinese community, then go be a chef, right? Go be a cook, go work at our restaurant, right? Like you could be uneducated and you can still work there.
Right.
Low barrier to entry. So he never was like, oh, take over the business. But in the back of his mind, he always felt a bit sad that I'm the only child, and the restaurant is both my mom and my dad's baby. And they created something very successful and very unique, which they didn't imagine that they were able to do. It was supposed to just make some money to put food on the table, right, and send me to good school. Yeah. And they're like, wow, we created something very special. What are we going to do? Like, if we retire, no one's going to take this over. Like, we'd have to close it because they don't trust it to give it to anybody else other than like their own offspring. And so I think secretly he was just like, this is fantastic. We do have like now a plan for the next generation. So I got lucky.
That's amazing. How did your dad start House of Nanking? When did they come over?
So my dad immigrated here along with my mom, very similar time frame when they were in their early 30s.
Okay.
And the first thing they did when they landed was go to Chinatown. They had very few relatives that they knew, and then it was a very tight-knit community. So the second you step in, they're going to help you get connected. They're going to say, you're going to need a job. You're going to need a place to stay, right? You're going to need all these things, and you can find everything in Chinatown.
So very supportive.
Very supportive. And they never left, right? They first started working in restaurants just to make money. They wanted to go to school, but they're like, I'm not sure if that makes sense because we're not really financially stable enough to just go take time off and go to school. So they decided we can't do school, go find a corporate job. We're going to have to just continue to do manual labor. They saved enough money and opened the restaurant. At that time, for my mom and my parents, they looked at restaurant owners and said, oh, wow, like they're doing well. They're sending their kids to private school. They have a car, you know, like, and they have a home. That's like success to them. So they said, okay, we got to do that. And they kind of just fumbled into it and was like, let's try it.
So your dad had no idea that House of Nanking would be what it is today.
No, not at all. When he came here, he didn't think he was going to open a restaurant, right? They just came thinking better opportunity. They're educated people, right? They're like, you know, hopefully I can get an office job. Like to them, office job is the place to be.
Yeah.
Never did they think I'm going to come and just, you know, open a restaurant because he never trained as a chef. My mom's never worked in a restaurant until they came here.
Just shows you like what hard work can really do.
Yeah.
Like how that can really, and with the supportive community too.
Absolutely. The community makes a huge difference.
So your TV show, which I'm obsessed with, Chef Dynasty House of Fang, it explored both the business and personal sides of your culinary journey. How did the show come to be? What was the inspiration behind it?
It's really a funny story, actually. So during the pandemic, a producer reached out to me and he said, hey, you know, I found you online in the internet and I think your story is super cool. You and your dad have some making history. Can I chat with you over Zoom? And I'm like, okay.
So this is 2020.
2020, correct. And so hopped on a Zoom with him. He's like, do you mind if I record this? If I get anything good out of this, I can put this into a reel. And what that is basically like a 2-minute video that they pitch to companies and then ask them to see production companies and see if they want to buy it and like create something with it, right? Yeah. And so I said, sure, why not? I don't know if it's because I was just like stuck at home. I had my baby actually during the pandemic. I was like 3 months in and nobody to talk to other than, you know, the people in the house. So I had the best conversation with this guy that I didn't know.
It's like all this built up things he's like, just talk about. Like, I just got my nails done today.
He's like, just talk to me, ask all these questions. And I don't know, like I said, it was like the best conversation I had with someone I didn't know, talking about my family and all this stuff, the dynamic. And he's like, wow, that was fantastic. He put this thing into a reel, taking the content that I had from past. Like he just surfed the web.
Okay.
And looked at things that I've done.
Like the chop videos.
Yeah, he asked me for some old photos, found everything, pieced a reel together, and sold it. and,
Oh my
which
gosh.
was crazy, right?
Yeah.
And even prior to this, a lot of people have actually come to me, producers and casting folks who are like, I feel like you'd be very good on TV, like food related, and have put together things before in the past, but every time it's been pitched, nothing has actually like gained traction. And so it was just kind of mind boggling. I was like, yeah, this is not going to go anywhere. And it ended up selling. And he actually then tells me, I'm like, so then, like, what was the inspiration? Because he does all kinds of shows.
Oh, interesting.
I'm like, I asked him, like, what was the inspiration to come find us about this? He's like, you're not going to even believe this. My boss told me, I want to make a show called Fangs Out. And Fangs Out. And he's like, okay. He's like, I just really love the name. The name's really catchy. He's like, I don't know what it's going to be about. He's like, it could be vampires, it could be anything, right? And so James was like, okay. So he started researching Fangs Out, like, what can this be? And he found our last name, Fang.
No.
Yeah, that is how it came to be.
That is insane.
And the show didn't end up being called Fangs Out. Although that was the real Fangs Out. It was that for a very long time until we actually shot the whole season. And then the producers at Food Network, then they were like, okay, like, yeah, we gotta change the name because it makes no sense.
But wait, Fangs Out is such a good title. You need to do that with something. Like, you have to
ask me something
that.
else, right? He was just like, it's just such a catchy title. And then that's how we found you guys. And then this is what happened. Can you believe? Like, that's how weird the universe is.
I like have goosebumps because that's like, those are stories that like you hear in movies or on TV shows.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have had some of your biggest challenges and rewards navigating a really beautiful, but I'm sure could also be tricky dynamic in the family business.
Yeah.
And I think a father-daughter relationship is very different versus a mother-daughter relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And then with you as an only child, I feel like there must have been extra pressure or an extra spotlight on you. So growing up, how did you navigate not only being an only child with your parents are working at this restaurant, but then balancing a beautiful, delicate relationship with your dad?
You say growing up or now as like we work together?
Both.
How
does it translate?
I think growing up, the best thing that my dad ever did as far as developing the relationship between father and daughter in a restaurant sort of circumstance. And when I say that, I'm trying to say that it's very hard to develop a relationship with your child if you're in the restaurant business because you're always working. And so your kids don't actually see you very much. I've never had like family dinners at home with my parents. I had it with my relatives. But the only way for me to see my parents was to be at the restaurant. House of Nanking is open 7 days a week, every single day, all day. We are only closed on Thanksgiving.
No way.
Yeah. So my parents never took holidays.
Oh my God.
My mom then started taking holidays during my breaks. So it'd be like summer and winter break. She would take me, but my dad would never leave the restaurant. Somebody always has to be at the restaurant. So if that were the case, it'd be very hard for me to develop a relationship with my dad because I don't see him.
Yeah.
My dad did one thing that was very special. He always picked me up from school. And when he picked me up from school, he always took me out to eat. And so that is like undisturbed 1 hour to 2 hours of time. And this is before cell phones, right? So there's really no distraction. That's the time that we talk. That's the time where he knows where my brain is at. That's also the time where, I feel like my dad got to parent. He got to, share all his wisdom, share his life experiences with me. He's basically trying to hone me and prepare me for adult life through lessons or things that he notices. And then, of course, we talked about food all the time. And he also noticed I was very knowledgeable about food, even though I was not at the restaurant all the time, that even then in his mind, he's like, wow, she'd actually be really good at this. Yeah. But like, he wasn't like, you should do this. But in his mind, he's like, wow, like she really understands food and cooking. So in those terms growing up, the dynamic, the balance was easy. there was a lot of pressure, but I don't think it was extreme because they were just not home, right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't know how hard I was working or if I was working at all. They couldn't really judge. And so in that sense, the pressure was low. I didn't have anybody to like tell me to do anything.
There was a lot of helicoptering.
Yeah. The only thing was, you know, when your grades come along, they expect A's. That's it, right? Totally. And if it's not, they'll be like, well, what's wrong? That's pretty much it. And then for work, though, in the business setting, I think it is like challenging because family always comes first. And so because of that, we make business decisions very differently. We move a lot slower than other businesses, right? If the decisions that you make are based purely on business, then it's a little simpler. Totally. But we think differently. And so sometimes even if I think it's something that makes sense and my dad does not, then I'm not going to really fight it because it's not worth it to me. And I will think, okay, well, an opportunity for something else will come along later because it's not worth it for me to cause ripples in the relationship. Totally. Because the family is like the core thing.
It's really good advice. It's really good advice. It's not worth causing a ripple.
Yes.
And like choose your battles.
Yeah. It's like business at the end of the day, a lot of it is about money, right? Like you gotta survive. So like you're like money or family, right?
Exactly.
It's like family.
Can you pinpoint or do you remember exactly an age and time when you were like, wait, I actually love cooking. I love food.
So I've always loved food ever since I was young.
Okay, so you remember that.
Yeah, it wasn't like when I was young, an aha moment of that per se, but I did have an aha moment in making that switch in career. So everybody knew already that like I love food. We like at USC we'd like party and drink and like come home at like 4 a.m. and people were like, oh, I want to go to like Del Taco. I'm like, no, let me make food.
You're so cute. No.
And I'm like, I want to make egg rolls like out of scratch. And people were like, really? And I'd be like, come to my house. And they'll like sit there like around the dining room. Can you imagine college kids? They're drinking, and then I'm like making fresh egg rolls.
The fact that you're making egg rolls from scratch at 4 a.m. in Los Angeles is hilarious.
In downtown San Francisco.
And incredible.
I'm like, no Del Taco.
That's not allowed in this dorm room.
Yeah, so like, I would always be cooking, and my roommates, they're like, we're so lucky because I'd make food, and then we would all like share expenses for like groceries, and then they'd be like, we'll share, you cook, right? So I'm always cooking for everyone, always thinking about the new restaurants. Anytime people want to eat, they always come to me. They're like, where should we like host this party? Where should we like get this if we want to eat that? And so when I said, okay, I don't want to do corporate, what am I going to do?
Right.
I instantly thought, hey, that was kind of an aha moment. I love food. I'm always thinking about food. So why am I not doing the one thing that like makes me happy? That's like occupies my mind. It makes no sense. I mean, I work out and I like to look at food, right? I'm just like, and that was a strange thing too at the time. Like in college, my boyfriend was like, that is the worst thing to look at when you're working out. Like, why are you watching Food Network while you're on the treadmill? I'm like, the gym has Food Network. Like,
you're like zooming on the photos of like donuts. You're like sprinting, like, oh.
Tell me how you roast that chicken. Like,
how would you personally describe your cooking style? Like in 3 words, how would you describe it?
Chinese, modern. I'll do 4 with a twist.
Love. When you say modern, what does modern mean?
I use anything that's, if it's not traditional, then I call it modern, right? It's just like something that has strayed from tradition. And I count myself as from the modern world. And so it's my modern twist to it.
That's so cute.
Although I'm getting old now, so I don't know.
Oh my God, Kathy. Stop. Okay. One of the unique aspects of House of Fang is a blend of traditional Chinese cuisine with modern, innovative twists like we were just talking about. How do you balance modern with your cultural roots. And how do you know when to bring in your cultural roots when you are looking at a new dish, trying to create a new cuisine?
I actually always start with tradition. That is the core of the dish, because when I say tradition, I say it like Chinese food, because opening this restaurant, my dad knew I was always going to have like, crazy ideas.
Yeah.
But he always says, don't forget, this is a Chinese restaurant, right? Like, don't go changing things so much where people are going to come in and be like, where am I? They taste it, they're like, this is not Chinese. He's like, then we've done like a bad job. So he always said, you got to stick to that first. And then you can, kind of play around with it, but never stray so far where it becomes confusing, because it is a brand too.
Totally.
So I always start with tradition first as the core. Then I build off of that. So every dish that we have at the restaurant, even if it is kind of like a unique dish that's modern, for example, we have a vegetarian wonton that's served with garlic eggplant. And everybody's like, what is this? Never seen it, never heard of it. I've heard of garlic eggplant, Szechuan eggplant, and then we know dumplings and wontons and veggie wontons, but those two things combined together, wow, where did that come from? And that actually was inspired by Italian food, where I've noticed they will put ravioli sometimes with other ingredients, right?
That is so smart.
And so I took that idea and applied it to something that's very traditional. Wontons, right? Wonton is a traditional Chinese dish, but it was like, how can we do it kind of differently? And we changed the filling. We put zucchini in it, which is not really a Chinese vegetable. We put fresh peas in it, so we wanted to give people that kind of fresh crunch. And then combined with like this really buttery, soft eggplant, there's just lots of textures and flavors. So that's the way that I would say our food and cuisine is defined as Chinese food that has been given this modern, fresh take on it.
Are you still pretty traditional at home?
Yes.
What does that mean for those who aren't really familiar with Chinese tradition? Like, what does your day look like where you incorporate traditions?
So I would say the first thing that is very traditional Chinese is that if you walk in, you're definitely gonna be able to smell all the flavors of a traditional Chinese home. I am very strict about what my kids eat Monday through Thursday. I want them to grow up the way that I grew up, which was with traditional Chinese food. And that has to be the base and foundation. Always know your root, your heritage, where you come from, and then whatever happens later in life, whether you choose that you want that to be a big part of your life, or if you want American culture or anything else, right, to be a bigger part of you, then that's your choice. But I want to give you all the tools and all the foundations for you to pick the best things, for yourself. And food is a big part of our lives. We have our restaurant. And maybe one day one of my kids want to do this. The other thing is Chinese food is very broad, right? There's all kinds of Chinese cuisines. There's spicy food, there's dumplings, Szechuan, Cantonese. There is a big category of Chinese food that is incredibly healthy, incredibly satisfying. And I grew up with a lot of that. And so I incorporate that in our daily lives. My kids always, for dinner, has one protein that's usually steamed or braised. One Chinese vegetable, usually a leafy green, that's cooked with ginger and garlic. Usually very, very little oil, sometimes no oil. It's very clean. And then steamed rice with some quinoa. Or we'll do some kind of noodles, and always a bowl of soup. And the soup is what we call Chinese tonics, Chinese soups that are made with various herbs or vegetables, protein. It's essentially bone broth, but we never season it. It's not salted. There's no sodium in it. It's just natural flavors. They have to have all those basic foundations at dinner.
That's incredible.
We never stray from that. And then the other days we eat whatever we want, and I stick to that. And since I've been doing that, it makes me feel so good. I feel really in touch with my tradition, my past. I'm sharing it with my kids. And we're all eating very healthy. We're developing really good eating habits. And I can see the difference because my husband did not grow up with that. he's he's like Chinese, Japanese, Eastern European,
Mm-hmm.
and he grew up, unfortunately, it's not his fault, right? It's just like parents a lot of times don't have time.
Totally.
And he grew up with like fried bologna with rice and chef boyardee. And because that was his whole upbringing, it's very hard for him to switch into eating what we eat.
Yes.
In fact, it's so hard that he does not actually eat any of that stuff, even though it's around him every single day. It's too hard to adapt at that point.
That's so interesting.
So very traditional in that sense. And then I would say like values, the way that I like parent is very, very Chinese. Oh, it's always like if you're gonna catch a cold if you don't wear enough layers, or like some weird stuff like you can't go to sleep with your hair wet or you get a headache, like some weird like myths that Chinese people create to like scare their kids. You know, I do that.
You're like check.
I'm like, what? That's me now.
You're so cute. So the chemo club, which we chatted about earlier, they've heard this story, but my mom was diagnosed with cancer at 48, very young, very healthy. Like it came out of nowhere, which is why I started the chemo club. And just as I can also edit this out, but just to tell you, so I think growing up, Western medicine, right? Like thank God for Western medicine, truly. But my mom was diagnosed with cancer. She did the whole chemo route, and like cancer is what ended up killing her, but chemo truly is like what kills your soul and strips your entire inner being. It was awful. And I will never forget this. I'm gonna say it was maybe, and I had just graduated college, and I had moved back home to Danville. And my mom was like, she sat, and I'm the oldest of 4 kids, and she sat us all down, and she was like, you guys, like, I can't do this chemo anymore. Because what would happen is when you go to the hospital, even today, they put chemo in you, and the second that you leave, doctors say, okay, go eat a burger, go have a milkshake, like, eat food to keep the chemo down because you're about to be really sick for the next 4 or 5 days, right?
Yeah.
What we know now, and here's the thing, it's very controversial, so I have to be careful what I say, but when my mom was going through this, we had this life-changing moment of we need to be careful with what we eat because food is medicine. And instead of rushing to go get a hamburger or go get a milkshake to keep her chemo down, we as a family changed our entire lifestyle to help support her, but started incorporating bone broth, started incorporating ginger, turmeric, and the biggest benefit of the food that we saw in Islamic food is white tea. And we started implementing it, and I do it to this day. We have white tea every single night before we go to bed because white tea, what it does, it's supposed to help regenerate new cell growth in your body. Mm-hmm. And the craziest thing, and like my siblings will attest to this. So my mom had done chemo for 3 months, and there were tumors all over her body, and the chemo wasn't working. And it was so hard on her. She was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to stop, and I'm just going to change the way that I eat. And I'm going to stick to a Eastern Chinese medicine holistic diet. And Kathy, I'm not joking. 2 months of her doing that, her tumors, 2 of them were gone. And most of them had shrunk. The doctors were like, what are you doing? And I'm telling you, it's the tea. Like, it was incredible. And like, we, as a family, and we're all like, everyone took care of themselves and stuff. But as a family, we all felt incredible. And unfortunately, she was diagnosed stage 4, like time of, we didn't have that much time. But just to see, to personally witness the power of not only like Chinese medicine, like acupuncture, but food, tea, ginger is so powerful. No oils. It's like a testament to how powerful Chinese food can be. Anyways, just like fill you in, and like why I'm really excited to interview you and talk about that is because it is really hard to find places to eat, especially if you are in remission or if you're undergoing chemo and you just like want to live a little, but you still want to be cognizant and careful of what you're putting into your body. Of restaurants in San Francisco that have fresh vegetables, that support local, that use less oil than other places. And so I commend you and your dad for really sparking that whole trend in Chinese food and being one of the first to really do it because it is really difficult to find places that do that.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that.
And I was about to cry. I'm like, I can't cry, sorry. So, what have you personally seen be a really powerful, like what are some powerful foods that come from Chinese culture that you incorporate at House of Fang or at House of Nanking?
Well, I wouldn't even say just like the food. I would almost focus on the cooking techniques that we have. So we'll take 2 steps back from this too. It's interesting that you mentioned this, is that we're very good at customizing things. That's also because my dad or myself, we're always there. So we are the chefs, right? Like if you're interacting where, you know, a customer comes in and it's just the server, like the chef's maybe not there, or the owner's not there, and someone asks for something that's not on the menu. And San Francisco is kind of like that. It's weird. A lot of places will say no substitutions.
Yes, you see that everywhere.
And you're like, okay, well, what if I have a health condition? Like, it seems really odd that you can't make changes. Right. You're making it to order, right? It's not like it's pre-made.
Right.
And so people will come in and say, you know, we like to order for people, we like to take care of people, and I can feel it. Like, there are people who say, oh, well, you know, I'm kind of, like, they feel bad. They're like, oh, I'm kind of like the problem person, right? And they'll be like, I'll just, you know, eat my own thing or whatnot. And I'm always like, no, like, tell me. Because, like, we have a full kitchen. I'm like, we can make something for you. Like, you don't have to be like, I'll just eat plain rice. You know, like, tell me. Like, come on. I'm like, challenge me, right? Like,
right.
And so we've created this reputation around being able to accommodate people's, like, dietary needs or preferences. We have so many people who actually come in and say, oh, I came here because there's these sites about finding vegan, like, Chinese restaurants, or we're not a vegan Chinese restaurant, but a place that's, like, well known for it, or can take care of people who are vegan, or you can even understand, like, what that is. We have a huge vegetarian vegan menu that doesn't make people feel like they're an afterthought, because a lot of Chinese restaurants, they'll do vegetable dishes, but they're like a side, right? It's a side to, like, a main dish, and a lot of times it's done the same way. It's like 5 different vegetables all done the same way. Right. And then, like, it sucks if you're, like, just eating asparagus with garlic and spinach with garlic. You want to change it up and feel like, oh, I'm having an exciting meal. So we think a lot about that, like incorporating tofu, different kinds of cooking techniques. Like we will steam things. We have a lot of people come in, they'll say, I have, like, lots of gut issues. I can't have oil. I can't have a ton of salt. Like, it needs to, like, be clean and just fresh vegetables and lean protein. We're like, great, we'll steam it for you. We'll put it in a steamer. We'll put some lemon on there. Do you want some ginger? Like, or we'll keep it clean, not even do anything with it, just steam it and prepare it. We do a lot of poaching and boiling in Chinese cooking. Mm. And I think people don't realize that these are standard cooking techniques that can be utilized to help people have better meals. Not everything has to come out of the wok. Not everything has to come out of the fryer. But a lot of people think, oh, Chinese food is like takeout food. You know, we got to go there and have those things. And a lot of restaurants want to make money, so they'll just serve those things, right? Because they'll be like, oh, if I put something that's steamed, it's not going to sell well. So then we won't put that on there. So that's kind of the thing. Like, and as far as ingredients go, I would say, like, the best thing to do is really just pick good, fresh vegetables. There's no harm that vegetables can do for you. But, like, ingredients that are power ingredients, I mean, I can go on all day. Like, those are things that we practice at home. It's still going to take a lot of time for, I think, the US to kind of catch on with that. Like, if we switched our menu completely to do that, I don't think we would do so well, because people need to actually know the purpose of these things, right? And so at the restaurant, like, our purpose is still, we provide delicious, amazing, fresh food, but taste is still going to be the biggest thing. But I'm very passionate about this, like, clean eating thing, and I'm always thinking, well, is there something else that I can do in that space where people know, well, I can go there just for that? And not like a restaurant, but maybe some sort of like packaged, like fresh packaged food that people can go home and like prepare themselves? Or is it like to tap into kind of like that delivery service of, Thistle and things like that? Is there an angle for something where here are meals that circle around TCM, traditional Chinese medicine? What type of ingredients should you be pairing with these things to eat?
Mm-hmm. As someone who appreciates clean living and you implement it in your day to day, tell me about, and you're a mom of two.
Yeah.
When you gave birth, tell me about the story of the process of confinement.
Yes. So when I had my first child, my mom said, you have to do confinement. And I was like, well, that sounds terrible. Like, what is that? And I'm like, am I being bound up, confined? Sounds like jail. And she's like, no. When she had me, she's like, we couldn't afford to do confinement, right? I had to go straight to work. And she said it did a lot of harm to her body. And a lot of Asian cultures, not just Chinese cultures, have this idea of confinement where the moms, after they give birth, that month is very crucial in basically bringing their health back to top level. When you are pregnant, a lot of things change. A lot of people can develop illnesses and problems, and they don't go away. I've had so many horror stories of some moms who developed diabetes while they were pregnant, and then it actually never went away. Or they developed interesting, like, kind of gut issues, certain spasms, like, started to happen. There's also the whole, like, postpartum depression. All of these happen because your body is like in shock from going through all these changes. Like it literally took life out of you, right?
Yes,
like literally. And so we've always had this tradition of how do you take care of the mom after they give birth? What are the types of foods that they should be eating? And you shouldn't be doing any work. You shouldn't be exerting anything. People around you, the village back then, would take care of you. And now it should be your family, or if they're not around, then maybe hire people. But the core is really about being careful about the food that you're putting in your body and nourishing yourself back to health during that full month so that you can actually come out of it with even better health. I'm a huge, huge believer in that. So when I did that, it was the best thing ever. I also did not
Did you for both of them?
For both of them. I also did not suffer from postpartum because I like when you're a mom, you're overwhelmed,
right?
Like, and you have no sleep,
right?
And then if your diet is poor, it's even worse, right?
Yeah.
It like eating foods that are not helping you actually drags you down. And so I got sleep. I had a confinement nanny, a nanny who basically cooked food for me, made sure I slept a lot, only woke me to feed the baby. I didn't do any cleaning, folding clothes, anything like that. I had no stress, and then I had someone to talk to. Like my husband, like I can talk to him, but they're not going to understand like what my body's going through.
Right.
But my confinement nanny was always there to kind of just like keep me kind of pumping is like boring, right? Like there's so many things that is boring.
Yes.
You have someone who's there. And so
and how long is the confinement period?
It's 1 month.
It's 1 month.
But I was so good I did it for 3 months.
That's amazing. And then how are you like so then do you like wean off of like how do you come off of confinement and then you just go to work the next day? Like how's that work?
When my confinement nanny left, I cried. I was like, oh, no, she actually weaned, like, so after the first month, I don't do anything.
Yeah.
But then, during the second and third month, they start kind of incorporating more day-to-day things. Okay, now you should, like, start doing a little of this, start working out. Oh, that's another thing.
What?
In Western culture, a lot of time there is this pressure for women,
yes,
for moms to, like, get into shape immediately, right? Like, sometimes the doctors will tell you, oh, you just gave birth. They'll be like, go walk, go, like treat yourself like nothing happened. Awesome. And you're like, what? And there's this pressure, like, oh, I gotta whip back into shape, I gotta do all this stuff. No, the philosophy for confinement is that you do not do that. don't give yourself that mental pressure to do any of that, or the physical pressure. When your body is ready, then you can start, and you can slowly incorporate.
Which makes so much sense as you're saying that to me, because you're going through a traumatic experience. Like, birth is traumatic, not in a good way or a bad way. It's just like, this is what happens. And your gut, like, everything about your gut goes up into fight or flight.
Yes.
And so the fact that there's less pressure to like immediately bounce back, go work out, your poor body has no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
So confinement makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
Do you drink bone broth?
Oh yeah, I did broth every single day.
Yes, I hear that.
Different kinds of bone broth, and our bone broths are very, 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 very varied. You know, like when we think of bone broth here, it's like chicken broth, right? And then there's beef broth and pork, and then there's a little bit of variety in it. But we have so many differences in our bone broth that I can do a different broth every single week. So I'll take, let's say, pork bone broth. Okay. We can do it with lotus root, carrots, barley, and peanuts. That's one way. The second way would be with mountain yam, which is also very healthy for you, with carrots. And we have this thing called apricot kernels. They're kind of, we call it Chinese northern almonds.
Oh.
But they're apricot kernels. And then those are really good for people who have like asthma or things that like you're feeling like your throat is scratchy. So every ingredient that's paired together serves a purpose. If you're going through that time of month, it's good to make like chicken broth where you put dates in there, like dried dates and goji berries. And then now you have a broth that has like a light kind of sweetness and then ginger, something that's a little bit more fortifying.
Right.
Totally different flavor kind of profile. You also don't season it, and that's supposed to help you with iron. It helps with cramps. So there's so many different foods that you eat and bone broths that you have. Like we do one with like pear and snow fungus.
That sounds amazing.
You make that broth, and then it's for your skin. It's just there are books on just making tonics and bone broths.
I'm a huge believer in that. And speaking of skin, which we'll get into, your skin's incredible, so I'll have to drink that bone broth. How are you sourcing locally a lot of your ingredients in your food? Do you go to farms? Are you supporting local markets here in San Francisco?
Yeah, so ever since we opened House of Baking, we've always actually sourced from the Chinatown market. And the reason for that is because Chinatown, as I mentioned earlier, you know, when my parents first came, they got all the support, right? It's its own community. It's actually its own city.
Oh.
If you live in there, you can do everything and anything in there without having to leave. They've created such a strong network for people who are just coming here that there's a hospital there, you can get your teeth cleaned, you can get your eyes checked, there's schools there, there's everything there. And a lot of these people rely on all these pieces to survive. The Chinatown markets on Stockton, it's iconic. People come from all over the world, tourists come all over the world to Chinatown to visit because it's one of the largest Chinese community outside of China. It's still very authentic because it's not done the way it is for tourism. It's done the way it is for the people. And you can see it when you go to the Chinatown market. It is full of Chinese people, right? A lot of older people who are very aggressive, buying their groceries, but that services that whole community. That is where they get all their food. That is how they survive. But the markets cannot survive purely on their business. They need all the businesses within Chinatown, all the restaurants to source from them. That's a huge part of where they make their money. Right. If our business goes somewhere else, and I'd love to support like other places, but like if our business was taken away from them to go somewhere else, a lot of them would not survive.
Wow.
And they need all of us. So because of that, and we have this really nice relationship. I mean, we've known these people for 30 years. These are all family businesses too, right?
Yeah.
It gets passed down. They all know each other. My dad goes in there and it's like a tab. He's like, he'll just take a vegetable and he'll be like, all right, put it on my tab. You know, like it's that kind of thing. It's like a family, really.
Yeah.
And so we make sure that we do that because we want to support the community that supported us when we first came in. And there's so many fresh vegetables in Chinatown. It's like one of the best places to be, to buy and to learn and incorporate new ingredients into like the daily life. I mean, I love the farmers market. I love all of that. We switch around as far as like my personal life, but through the restaurant, we always get our inspiration from what is there in the markets.
So when I was getting married, you know, like you get your wedding dress, which is so expensive, and the tailoring is an extra $5,000, and you're like, kill me. Like,
I know. I'm trying to sell mine still. I'm like trying to recoup some of the costs, and I'm like, oh.
Chef Kathy's wedding dress is still for sale.
Yeah, they're away, guys.
We die for her. So I'm getting this quote of like, I just spent $1,000 on my dress, and now another like $2,000 to $3,000 for tailoring. Are you crazy? And trying to be a budget queen because I wanted that money to go to like shoes and like my extra flowers. I'm like, there has to be someone I can find in San Francisco who could do it for like a cheaper price. There has to be like a mom and pop. Okay, you're gonna die. I'm Googling and I'm like looking for like inexpensive tailor San Francisco wedding dress, and there's a Google, I don't even know if it was a Google review or some random rogue review about this incredible woman who's based in Chinatown, and she's a tailor. And she's a tailor in the back of her grocery store. And I read this, and she had one review, and this lady is just glowing about her. And she's like, if you're in San Francisco, you have to go. And she's like a grandma. Like she's like, I forget what the term was, but like, what do you call like a Chinese grandma? Like, it's like,
you mean in Chinese terms?
and it's really cute. Maybe that was really cute. And they're like, listen, you walk through this store, you're gonna do one knock, and she's gonna open, she's in this cute little closet, and she does our tailoring. And I'm like, I'm gonna go. Okay. I go to Chinatown, I have
oh my god.
I have my wedding dress. And I'm in this grocery store, like her cute little like market, and I'm trying to find the door that I knock on, right? And I'm looking, I don't see anything. And I'm like, oh, I totally just got scammed. Like, everybody's looking at me.
Yeah, we're like, what?
No, and I'm carrying this massive bag, like this dress slung around my shoulder. And then, so I'm talking to one of the workers there, and I'm like, I'm looking for, I never wrote her name, but she's so sweet. Like, I think her name was like Mercy. I'm like, Grandma Mercy, is she here? And they're like, oh, go this way. Okay, so I go past like the avocado corner, and there's this cute little door, and I do my one knock, and this gorgeous grandma, she's so cute, opens the door, and no, Kathy, I'm telling you, the amount of clothes she was tailoring, it was like a little bitty closet with everything lined up, and she looks at me and she says, I will do this for you. I will do this for you.
Oh my god.
She took my alterations and saved me thousands of dollars, but she did such a good job. She actually also, I went back to her, and she fully custom made me close to my honeymoon. She's that good. This is my hot tip, everybody. DM me. I will give you her contact information.
Tell me.
She was amazing. And so she's been doing it she went to Chinatown, has been doing it her entire life. Okay. And she's like she's well known, I think, in the community in Chinatown. But now that I've experienced her, oh my god, she's
all your alterations.
I look at her also. I had my husband. I'm like, get your Tom Ford tux. You're gonna go see her, and she did such a good job, and it was amazing. So anyway, so I love Chinatown, and so I can appreciate supporting local because most of these business owners have been doing it since they got here. Yeah, that's a huge thing. Working alongside your father, Peter, who's so cute. How has this relationship really shaped your approach and philosophy now in your day-to-day life?
Working with my dad, I mean, I feel like I'm becoming my dad. Just in my philosophy and approach. And I know,
isn't that funny how that happens?
No, it's crazy. And you know, like obviously it's a slow moving process of me becoming more like Peter Fang, but there is this kind of like back and forth between the two of us. It's like, I think, a very healthy push and pull, right? He's way more conservative and traditional in the way that he thinks. I'm a little bit more adventurous and I want to take a little bit more risk. And so I kind of like that is the dynamic, because in life, even whether it's like a personal, husband and wife kind of relationship, or even with your kids, everything that's happening in your daily requires that.
Totally.
Right? You're not always going to agree with people. And there's always this kind of push and pull. So I feel like I've mastered that because I do it on a daily basis with somebody that I care about, that I respect. And so I think it's taught me to be really good at working with people and understanding what type of person commands the type of respect and admiration, and how far they can go. And so my dad's always exemplified that to me. I've learned through him, and it's paid off really well for me because I get to be myself, I get to be genuine, and I feel like I can accomplish things and be proud of the way that I do it because I follow what my dad has shown me.
Totally.
No.
So if there's ever created a difference between you two, what role does your mom play? Is she kind of like the mediator? Is she always your side? Like, how does that work?
My mom is Switzerland. My mom does not get involved. She's neutral. My mom is very smart. She's like, I'm not getting involved in any of this.
That's so cool.
My dad and I just have to duke it out between the two of us.
Do you see your kids having interest in food?
So my daughter's 6, my son is 4, and they're interested in food, but it's more just like for consumption.
Okay.
My daughter, however, I am starting to see that she is going to be a foodie.
Really?
Just based on the way that like she eats, I can tell. Like, here's one thing that might sound kind of creepy, and I don't know if all restaurant people are like this or chefs, but I really enjoy watching people eat. That might be very creepy.
Like, what do you mean? Like, just to see like how they scoop their food and like.
Yeah, well, because at the restaurant, like I am always looking at
Okay.
eating.
Right.
And then I can tell based on the way that they're eating, their expression or whatnot, whether they like it, how much do they like it, or are they uncertain of it? So I am always, I feel like now at the restaurant, I actually do more of that than like anything else. I'm just like watching, yeah. And I try not to like directly do it. So I'm kind of like very awkward, I'm just kind of passing by, but I'm totally watching you like eat your dumpling. So I watched the way that my daughter eats, and like something as simple as just like a warm focaccia.
Right.
My son will just dig into the olive oil, right? But she'll like dig into the olive oil, taste it, and be like, "Oh, that's good," right? And then we'll have pasta, and she'll like pour some of that oil on the pasta. She's like, "That'll make it better," or like she'll know that this can be used for other things. Or she'll be like, she'll tell me like, "This will taste better, Mom, if we put some honey on it, or if we do this." Or when I cook with her, she'll be like, "Needs a little bit more salt."
Oh, she's smart.
And she's 6, right? And I'll be like, "Are you sure?" And I'll taste it and be like, "Okay," like I'm like, "We could probably add a little bit more."
Right.
And she'll be like, "Trust me." She's like, "It needs a little bit more salt." Or she'll be like, "It's okay. It needs something else."
She's already getting that food intuition.
Yeah.
Do they cook with your parents?
Not with my parents as much because my parents are always at the restaurant, but my daughter does actually come and help out at Fang every now and then when she has like her schedule's not so crazy.
Right.
She'll come and she really likes it because she gets to earn a little bit of like money.
Cute.
And she'll come and like pull chopsticks, but she's like me. She like wants to do things. You can't sit still. So she'll be like, "Okay, now, Mama, what do I do? Like, I just roll chopsticks. What else can I do?" and be like, okay, bring this drink to the customer. She's like, done. And then she does this excited thing. She's like, what else can I do?
That's so
And
cute.
then I'm like, okay, and then crack eggs and do that. You just got to keep giving her things to do. So I like that.
Yeah.
I am like that. At home, my husband sometimes it's just like, can you just sit down? We're like watching a movie. Why do you have to keep getting up? I'm like, oh, I forgot this. Or, I need to do that. And he's like, just sit down for like 10 minutes and don't move.
What does your husband do?
He's in tech.
Okay.
He's in cybersecurity.
Love. Okay. So very different world.
Very different world.
Does this company always ask to have like the Christmas parties at your restaurant?
Oh yeah. I mean, I get a lot of tech business from him and through him because then it's like his friends and people, colleagues, all that. Because of my location in Soma and it's around so many tech companies,
Right.
I would say like I probably know more tech people than even he does because like
That's
everybody just comes to our
Right.
place and there'll be times where he'll be like bringing somebody. I'm like, oh, I know him. Yeah. He's like,
I
oh, you know?
love
I'm like,
that.
yeah, because my restaurant is kind of popular.
You're like, I'm so much cooler than you guys. How would you say it is being full-on entrepreneur? You have your own business, you have reality shows, there's some things coming down the pipe for you. How do you balance that and being a mom? That's the number one question I always get when I interview.
It is incredibly hard, I have to say. I think owning a restaurant and raising kids those two things almost cannot go together. And that, I mean, the prime example is like the way that I grew up, right? I didn't get to see my parents. And I guess it depends on what kind of restaurant owner you want to be too. You could be an absent one and not be there.
Right.
And be like, okay, I'm going to take care of my kids, but then your restaurant's going to suffer, right? It's
Right.
like two babies that you need to juggle. I'm very thankful in that House of Banking has been around for 35 years and Fang has been around for 15, so we have a really good team there.
Yeah.
And then my dad is, crazy. He works every single day, so we know that there is always somebody there that's like trusted.
Right.
But I feel the hardest aspect is really like trying to balance the two things without feeling guilty that you're not giving enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with kids. Like, I can't make it to most of the things because in the evenings I have to work.
Right.
The school is far. I can't do a lot of the pickups because meetings pop up and all these things. And restaurants always constant. Something's happening, right?
Totally.
And you got to do that. And I've got other things going on top of the restaurant. So I do think I'm coming to a point where I'll probably need to step away from the restaurant a little bit more, focus more time on the kids because they grow so fast.
Yeah.
And then I also get help, right? We have a nanny. Like it's okay. I think another thing is mom always feel like I have to do everything.
Yes.
And you can't do everything.
Yeah.
If you do everything, you can't do anything well. So you have to be able to find a way to delegate, whether that's like splitting more responsibilities with your husband
Mm-hmm.
or finding help. It's okay to have people help you do things because it'll maintain your sanity
Totally.
and you'll be a better mother, right?
Asking for help is okay. And I think people forget that. And I think that's the only way that you will ever feel okay with yourself is by asking for help. And so I'm really glad that you believe that too. Because I think that's the number one thing I hear from a lot of my girlfriends now who are becoming mothers is they have all this guilt, they don't ask for help. I'm like, why? Like there's no award.
No, I know. And or like a lot of times moms give themselves these parameters, right? Like some moms say, well, I always have to make it in time for their bedtime.
Mm.
And so that like they don't go to dinners, right? Because unless the dinner is you can't even do 4 o'clock.
Yeah,
because you have to pick up, right? So it's just like, okay, like you can't take like one day, like your kids go to sleep every single day, right?
Right.
Like, it's okay. They should also know that like mom has a life too.
Right.
There are days my son's like, what? You're gonna go eat dinner without us again? I'm like, yeah, because mommy has friends.
Wait, he's hilarious.
I'm like, mommy has a life too, and I need it sometimes. I can't just work and come home, work and come home.
Right.
Like,
That's awful.
it would make me crazy. And I love being with you guys, but I can't be 100% me if, like, I don't get to do things for myself too. I'll be miserable. Nobody's going to want to be around mom.
Because at the end of the day, that's taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And if you want a happy home life, you have to take care of yourself. Like,
Yeah.
that's the number one thing. Even before you're a mom, like, yeah, I feel it now. Like, even as a newlywed, I'm like, I need to go to the sauna, just some alone time to recharge. Because once I get that, then I can come home and I feel good and I have more energy and I want to, like, sit down with my husband for like 2 hours. Like, okay, tell me about your day now. Like, you need that
Yes.
to take care of
Very
yourself.
important.
Okay, into the fun questions. Can you walk us through your day? So what does your day look like? So you wake up. What time are you waking up? Walk us through a day of Kathy Fang.
So I wake up at 6 and I get ready. I make breakfast for my kids. And sometimes they eat 2 different things. So I make 2 breakfasts. And then I pack their lunches.
Okay.
I have to have a cup of coffee in the morning with oat milk. I make my own coffee.
Okay.
And then
What kind of coffee are you making? Like, what's the brand?
I actually like to try different brands. Ritual is one of my favorite, but I am also very thankful that I have a lot of friends who travel that always bring me coffee. So right now I'm having a coffee from Hawaii, from Kona. So it's fun for me because I'm kind of like, oh, this month I'm trying something.
How
different.
cute! I love that. Okay.
I have a nice, like, fancy coffee machine. I just push a button and then
It's
like,
wonderful.
so I have to have my coffee.
Okay.
And after I'm done packing their lunches and backpacks, generally both my husband and I will drive our kids to the bus stop. And then I come back, make breakfast for my husband.
Oh wow.
Then I do a little bit of email and then I work out. I have to work out 5 days a week, so Monday through Friday.
And what kind of workout are you doing?
I have a personal trainer for Mondays.
Love.
And a lot of that it's like conditioning, strength training, cardio. And then I also have another trainer that's virtual that I do 2 days a week. Also very similar type of thing.
Yeah.
And then after I work out, I come back, then I make breakfast for myself. I do work emails, meetings.
So when you come home to make breakfast for yourself, what time is this? Like at 10, an 11?
At that point, it's already like 9:15 or so.
Okay.
And then
Is your husband working at home or is he in the office?
he's working from home. He has his own office at home.
Okay.
And then sometimes I'll make his lunch at that point too, and then
You're
just put it in the
amazing.
fridge.
Oh my god. Okay.
Well, I am a
I have to
chef.
step my
so-
game up. Like, still. Oh my god. God, they're so lucky. Okay.
And so after I do that, I'm always the last person to eat, but I'm very happy with that. I like feeding everybody else.
It's your love language.
Yes, then I can sit down and eat. Then I have an assistant. He comes in at 10, and we usually go through the things that need to be done.
Okay.
And he chips in a lot. Like if we can't do pickups, he'll fill in and do a pickup for the kids. He helps with a lot of the emails that I just don't have time to go through.
Yeah.
And then all the meetings happen. I go to the restaurant. I go to Fang. I work lunch shift. Then I will pick up the kids from school. And between that, I will fit in lunch if there's time. Because sometimes they'll come back and there's more meetings.
Right.
And lunch is something I usually prepare for myself.
Okay.
I really try to stick with, it's horrible, I'm a restaurant person and I'm like not eating out every day. But Monday through Thursday, I like to eat at home. I like to eat very cleanly.
Yeah.
So like 70% of my meals are all plant-based. And then I limit my protein to about 2 ounces per meal. And then I do soups.
Okay.
After lunch, pick up the kids, spend time with them, do homework, just whatever they want to do, hang out with them. And then I'll prep the nanny for any of the dinner items. So like I might cook some of it or I might tell her how to do things. And then I go to work. I go to Fang again for dinner shift.
So you're working every day at the restaurant?
Generally Monday through Thursdays.
Okay.
And then Friday, I try to make it so that my husband and I can either do a date night,
So cute.
or we do something with friends. Like
Okay.
it could be we might be separate, where like I do something with my girlfriend, he might go and do something with guys, or we do like a combined thing with all people. But or we go watch a movie, like leave the house. We need to just like do something outside. And then Saturday, Sunday is all family. So we do everything with the kids, all their activities. And every other Sunday, we do dim sum with my parents and the kids.
That's so cute. This sounds like a fun household. It sounds like it's a pretty well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I like to like just have everything set so that we always know what to expect.
Do you like routine?
I do like routine, very
Yes.
much so. I am like all about that.
Yes. Is it easy for you and your husband? Like, can you go on vacation and relax, or do you feel like you need to have a routine even when you're on vacation?
I can relax on vacation very easily because I also like to drink. So.
I was not expecting you to say that. What's your drink of choice?
Martinis, dirty martinis with gin.
That's mine too.
It's like the ultimate.
Where's your favorite place to get a martini?
Powerhouse.
Okay, that is a good spot. That's a good plug.
And then I also like wine. I like white wine. But martini, I used to joke, like back in the day when we would party a lot, I'd be like, this is the ultimate drink. It's like, you got your drink and you got your snack. A healthy snack. You got your olives, right?
You got your vegetables in.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. How are you seeing? I mean, so you and I, we were both here during the pandemic in San Francisco, and we saw a lot of businesses leave. We saw a lot of restaurants go under. You guys stayed strong. Quite a few restaurants did stay strong. How are you seeing the restaurant scene evolve now in San Francisco?
I feel like obviously like a lot of restaurants are no longer here anymore. And us being in the restaurant industry for a long time, seeing that has been very difficult. There's a point during COVID where it felt like it was like, oh, who's next kind of thing. Like, not who's next to get COVID. It was like, who's next to like close. Yeah. And so it was a very strange time. But the way that I see it is that like the ones that are now still around, those were the places that really like practiced, you know, very good business philosophy to stay afloat and provided clearly like a service or a food that people wanted, that they were able to capture still enough business to stay afloat, even though it is very, very hard, even if you provided like a great one, just because of the circumstances. Yeah. But whatever is left, you know, are going to be like the best. Yeah. Right? Because if you're not, then you're not going to survive. Even some of the best couldn't survive. As far as I feel like the trends that I'm seeing, I think what you're going to see is that there's going to be a lot more affordable options. Prior to COVID, there was just like overabundance of crazy expensive meals that were happening, right? It was just like, who could have the most expensive, right? We had course meals, and when it was like starting to get obscene, it was like, you know, first it was like 250, then it was like 400. Oh, this one's 600, like, and so that has been very tough because a lot of people also suffered from work instability. People didn't have jobs because of COVID and layoffs and all that, and so I think it's like a good sort of it's a good like turnaround where now what you're going to see is affordable, more approachable business models, and also food that people can afford, right? Like, and just kind of spaces that are a little bit more accessible. So yeah, I welcome that.
That's encouraging to hear. How do you envision U.S. Chinese food evolving? Like where is it headed? Do you think it's going to stay very traditional? I mean, even you and your own restaurant are bringing a bit of a modern twist. Do you think we're going to see that now globally?
I mean, there's like, we'll talk about like the U.S. I think that Chinese food, it has evolved a lot because of our generation now, right? Like the younger generation, they're coming in and they're doing a lot of tweaks on the classics. And doing very exciting food. I find that over time when that happens, tradition will then slowly come back again.
It's the circle.
Yeah,
it's
it's
the
a
full
circle.
circle.
So the more we start to like get creative, it's gonna be fantastic, right? People are like, wow, I've never had this before. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And then people will then go back to like kind of the roots again. Oh, well, like we've been trying all this stuff, but it'd be nice to just have a classic, dish again, right? Like
Right.
it applies to all kinds of cuisine. Like let's just say Italian. You can do like the standard pizza, but then you can have places that are like putting crazy toppings, right, and doing all these things, and this is cool.
Yes.
And then sometime after a while, people are like, I just want a pepperoni pizza. Like
no, exact. Stick to the
I don't
classics.
need, all this crazy stuff on it anymore.
Yes.
That was done. Also, the trends of like Chinese food right now is like, I feel like dumplings at the moment are like the thing. Anywhere you walk down is now like a dumpling house, a dumpling king,
So true.
city of dumplings, kingdom of dumplings.
Happy dumpling, yeah.
Double dumplings, mini dumplings. I'm just like, oh my god, how many dumpling places can there be?
It's so true.
Are there like more dumpling places than McDonald's now? It's just crazy.
Take it over.
And then that'll probably die out to like the next thing. I don't know what that'll be. What I do hope will come into play more, which I'm very passionate about, is more because now you're not in Chinese food industry yet, but you're seeing a lot of food surrounding like gut health, microbiomes, the things that you need to eat, because a lot of people are having health issues because of what they're eating, or they're realizing because, oh, we're having like eczema or having all these like weird irritations, what's happening, and they'll find that, oh, it's because of your gut health and the things that you're eating, and you have to cut out certain things, and after they do that, they'll realize, oh my god, that changed everything. And so Chinese food with TCM, we've been doing that for 2,000 years. Right? So we have all that there, but it's also a very hard category to like get into because there's so much around it. Like even Chinese Americans, a lot of us, I mean, I know it because I grew up around it, but a lot of Chinese Americans don't know. Like they'll see the soups that I make sometimes on Instagram. They're like, I wish I could like make that. I'm like, you can. Right? And she's like, I don't know even how to like differentiate these ingredients, like how do I buy it? And I remember making a little pack and sending it to her.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's so helpful. It just makes me feel so good. So I think like there is a huge space there that it will move towards that, because now everybody's talking and thinking about what I'm eating, what I'm putting in my body, and how that can fix health issues. Health used to be about just eating healthy things that are low fat because of like physical appearance. Totally. It wasn't really about, oh, am I like doing good to my body, right?
Exactly.
Now that's changing. People are like, oh, I can't eat that. I have to eat this because it touched up my skin, right? Like it changed my hair, it changed my, like all kinds of stuff happened.
Well, and I give you kudos because what you said earlier is we can go to Fang and I can say, can I get this steamed? Or is it possible not to put oil in this? And Catherine, I tell you, it is impossible to find restaurants that do that. It's impossible. So the fact that you do, like, thank you. Like, that is a big game changer. And for anyone who, if you have a chronic illness, if you are in remission right now for cancer, if you're trying to be very careful, like, Kathy and Fang have you covered. So thank you for doing that, truly. And also, sorry about this fly that's going around. I'm about to.
I was really interested in our conversation.
Sorry. Oh my god. Are there any exciting projects on the horizon for you that we are allowed to chat about?
Yeah, so I am currently working on a very big father-daughter cookbook, all around housemaking. So this has been kind of a long time coming. A lot of people have always asked us over the last 20, 30 years, is there a housemaking cookbook? Is there a housemaking cookbook?
Really?
Please make a cookbook. And my dad's like, nope, not gonna make a cookbook, because if I show people how to make it, no one's gonna come to the restaurant, right? And people are like, no, it doesn't work that way. It's like nobody is, like, sure, people cook from some of it, but people are like, man, this is a lot of work. So like, I own a lot of cookbooks from some of my favorite local restaurants, right? I still go there. Like I made maybe a couple of the dishes.
Totally.
And I'm a chef.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you know what? It's just easier if I go and I want to support it. But you want to look at it and know, oh, how did they make it?
Right.
And like, this book is very story driven. It's all about the journey. My dad moving from China to here, how he became the chef that he is, and how the food at House of Nanking was influenced by our life experiences, and also in my voice of what it was like to grow up in the restaurant and the amazing food that I was exposed to, and why we cook the way that we do. And so I feel it's a very, very personal book that I've been working on with my dad for the last year and a half. And it'll come out September 2024. I'm also very excited that, you know, half of it's going to be House of Nanking classics, some Fang classics, but the other half is actually food that I'm very passionate about, and it's a lot of the traditional recipes that like are from our family that I grew up eating. That's actually very like healthy and very clean, and it's the way that I eat these days and my kids eat. And so I'm very excited to share all of that because I know that that's something that a lot of people would be interested in seeing. And those are things that you can actually do at home. Come to House of Nanking and like, you know, eat the stuff that we make. You don't have to make all of that in the cookbook, but if you want to like actually take some of the recipes from the book that you can like feed your family and friends with, I feel like the family ones are the way to go because it's just that a lot of them are very easy, and you'll be surprised by like how good it makes you feel when you eat cleanly.
I'm so excited for that. And what a beautiful, also like love story this cookbook is for your kids to have too. And like beautiful, keep the family tradition alive. Like that's so beautiful. Any final thoughts on the importance of balancing health, family tradition, and sustainability in the culinary world and like what you're going through today?
I mean, I would probably stick with the health and sustainability aspect.
Because it's only going to get better.
Right. And like, you know, tradition and family is very important to me, but there are many different kinds of chefs and many different people in culinary space. And maybe for some, family is like not that big of a thing, or maybe they don't have family, or I don't know. So I would say like the more core focus that's over encompassing for anybody and everybody in the culinary space would be health and sustainability. With health, you know, as chefs, we have an ability to make food delicious, right?
Yeah.
Better than other people. So if we take that talent and apply it and put more thought into how to make people eat better, I think that is something that is important to focus on for the future, especially surrounding children. I think that is lacking in the US. The focus on healthy lunches at schools for kids is like non-existent, I feel. When I look at it, it's so sad.
Yeah.
I'll give you one example.
Yes.
We were watching Culinary Class Wars like
Yes.
everybody else. There's a school lunch lady. And this lady is in charge of all the food for the school system for kids. And the first challenge they had was just cook the food that like tells a story about you, like represents you, right? The best dish. And she made this whole spread. There was like this pork belly, there was kimchi, there's rice, and vegetables, and soups, and all this stuff, this tray.
Right.
And my husband goes, there's no way the kids eat that stuff, right? And I'm like, oh, they do. I'm like, that is how a lot of the Asian countries, they're like, and Europe, all their lunch programs, they're like eating real food, like good culinary, like food, right?
Like actual cuisine.
Gourmet.
Yes,
gourmet food. And they're learning, the kids are growing up and learning, oh, grains, vegetables, right? It's not packaged stuff and soups, like they're learning how to be like good eaters. And the reason why my husband said that is because we know he grew up, and I also grew up with like the lunch programs here. It was horrible. Like my dad remembers seeing me just throwing the whole thing away because I was just like, it's just not good. It's horrible. It was like carrot, like at that time, I don't know if they still serve this, and I don't know if like you ever had this, they put like mayonnaise with shredded carrots and raisins.
So gross.
And it would
It's so
like
gross.
it would just sit in, and it would like be watery. And I'm like,
Disgusting.
how am I gonna eat this? And I remember like some kind of, I don't know, like a sandwich that was like warm, that was in like a plastic wrap, that you like have to cut open.
Ever eat. I know exactly what you're talking about.
They like
Yeah.
pop it in the microwave. It's like, oh my god,
Yes.
the sandwich in a plastic bag in a microwave. It's like, yeah, like disease
That's
in a bag.
toxic 101.
Yeah,
That's toxicity 101. That's like giving us all these sicknesses.
And it's just crazy. So like, I feel like, chefs or people in this food space, we need to come together and like really fix the freaking lunch program, because this is important. And sustainability for me, like, I feel like restaurants a lot of times, and people know it, like there's a lot of food waste that happens, right? Sustainability is also about like not getting produce and food and sucking this thing where you don't need all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And more attention on like how to actually use just what you need and be creative with what you need. For us, it's easier because we don't serve fancy food, and so we're not cutting perfect vegetables and discarding everything else. Even like all our vegetables, from even the sweet potato, we don't even peel the skin. Right, the skin is healthy. Like a lot of vegetables, you don't have to. If it's edible, like you should eat it. So we, in that sense, make sure we don't have a ton of waste. And also, like, House of Banking is a very small place. We don't have a lot of space for compost even, right, or trash. And so we operate in a way where we only take what we need as far as sourcing and taking from the markets, and we sell out. And then you take more. So it's like we have to be very conscientious about all of that. I also hate waste in that at home, it is known, if you look at my social, that I love to eat leftovers. I eat all my kids' leftovers. By the end of the week, my fridge should be empty. I don't get rid of anything. I just go through all that stuff. I'm like, now I'm going to eat that. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to finish that. I hate waste.
That's like the new trend right now. Like, have you heard of girl dinner? Where like you just see what you have and you'll put like pretzels with pickles just to get it out of the fridge. Like, this is the girl dinner that we're having tonight. I love that. I love the fact that you are interested in this food initiative for kids, especially here in San Francisco. I think that, we'll have to do a second podcast, but that is really interesting. That would be amazing if the chefs came together, because when I interviewed Tyler Florence, he kind of had the same, we talked about this. He was like, growing up, like my kids, I think they're a bit older, but he was like, we talked about the health, like the food system in San Francisco, and it's like, it could be better. So that could be really
way better. We're like freaking
that would be
amazing culinary capital. And how is the lunch programs here so bad? You have to be in a private school that has like, in order to get good food. Like, the public school system should have really fantastic food.
No, exactly. That could be a really cool initiative, though. I'll have to play around with that.
Yeah.
All the girlies need to know about your skincare. Walk us through. Your skin is truly flawless. You are so beautiful. Like, oh my god.
Thank you.
What
Thank you.
Walk us through. What are you doing? What brands are you using? What should be buying?
Okay, so for me, I feel like my routine is actually quite simple. I know that's probably not what you want to hear.
It is.
I, for one, actually, because I work in a restaurant, I don't, and I think that is very helpful, but I don't use any foundation.
You're not wearing foundation right now?
No foundation. I do concealer if I have spots, which I use, or to highlight and things like that, but I don't use any foundation on my skin. And I'll use a little bit of blush. So I love eye makeup, so I'll go crazy with that. But the rest of my skin, I try to keep clean all day, because in a restaurant, if I were to wear foundation with the steam, it would literally just like seep into my skin and I would have crazy pores, right? Like, so that was kind of like an accident, right? It was like I can't do that. And I think it's been something that's been really helpful. So, and I think, if you have like pretty good skin, it's like, we also have to just understand, like, it doesn't have to be perfect. So kind of like lay low on the anything that you feel like you don't really need. That's my whole thing. I think that's been very helpful. I'm very neurotic about cleaning my skin also, so I do double cleanses. I do the whole oil makeup cleanser. I wash that all off with a like Neutrogena wipe.
Okay.
And then I rinse that off, do face wash with Tatcha, which is the Korean brand.
I love Tasha.
Wash that off. And then I usually have, there's like this scrub. I think it's called Biossance or Bioessence.
Oh yeah, Bioessence, the best.
There's a scrub. It's non-abrasive.
Okay.
You can use it every day.
Okay.
I put that on, and once you rub it, all the dead skin comes off, and you can see it.
That's amazing.
So then I do that. So I guess it's like a triple cleanse.
We are doing a deep cleanse every night.
It's a triple cleanse. At that point, my skin, like you can feel, you're like, okay, it's nice and like, tight from all of that cleaning. And I just do all the basics. I love the Lancome toner. It's very like nourishing. And my skin is actually quite dry. So like I do a lot of things that are moisturizing. So like the toner is also moisturizing. And then these days, I've actually gone a little bit more like, I would say dermatological type of products instead of all like just branded stuff.
Totally.
So there's these like natural compounds that you can use that, let's say it's just for like discoloration or whatnot. And then there's very good about moisturizing. And I also use Dr. Jart for moisturizer. So I'm a huge fan of like the Korean skincare.
Yes.
Like face wash is Korean skincare. The only thing that is not is the Lancome nourishing toner. I love that toner.
Okay. I might need you to send me the name of the wash because I want to look into that. Do you do any microneedling?
I don't.
Really?
I don't do any of that. The only thing I have done is the other version of Botox. So
Taxify.
no, what's the other one? It is Botox, but it's like
Dysport.
So that's the only thing that I do around here because when I smile, this part gets like all crazy. And I have to smile a lot.
I always have to smile on my face for all of my guests.
So I get that part, but I haven't tried my eye. So I have a fear of needles. I didn't even start Dysport until over, I want to say like a year ago. And
stop.
Yes, and it took a lot of coaching because I'm deathly scared of needles. Like I can't look at it.
Yeah.
If there's like a blood draw that happens, like I have to tell them, like, please, like, just make it really easy for me. Like you have to prepare me and all that stuff. So, but this stuff kept showing up and, shooting TV and all that stuff. So then I asked my friend, it was like Lillian, who's on the show. I was like, what do you, like, have you done anything? And she's like, yeah, after doing the show, she's like, oh my God, she's like, I need to do something. So she's like, but I don't want, like, I want my face to still move.
Look like your face, exactly.
Yeah. So she said, try Dysport and try really little units. And so that's the only thing that I've done so far. I'm still a little scared to try like the microneedling and because there's needles, all that. And I wish I had more time to do facials, but oxygen facials I love. I wish I could do it more, but
you don't need it. Oh my God. The girls will be so excited to hear about this. Like, truly, this is my number one request. Ask her about her skin, ask her about her skincare. I'm like, okay, well, it's so true. Once you see yourself on television,
you're like,
you're like, oh my God. Like, it's best way to learn though. That's hilarious. Do you think you'd open up any more restaurants or are you happy right now with what you have?
I don't want to open any more restaurants, mostly because it's very hard to balance that with kids because restaurant, the way we do it, we feel like we need to be there physically.
Yes, totally.
And you can't be in two places at the same time. And so my vision is really to like be able to still do the things that we want to do, keep the two restaurants, but I still want to create there are a lot of things that I'm like passionate about related to creating food, not just food for Fang and House of King, but like the healthful foods, um, things that I think, I talked about like kids' food, right? Like I'd love to be able to like come out or help lines like there's one called like Nurture Life where they make like kid food.
Yeah.
But like doing Chinese ones that are also very healthy and tasty, right? But also how about like the seniors? The seniors also need to eat really healthy foods, and it's hard to cook for them. It's hard to like ensure that they are like well nutritioned, or people like you said who are going through chemo. What are like ways to provide meals and food for people that they can purchase and like feel that their family can feel good about them eating? Like that has not been like really tapped. Like there's so many ways to do that in Chinese cuisine that like we haven't even touched the iceberg. That would be one thing I'm passionate about. And then I really want to get into the CPG space, which is like consumer packaged goods. How everybody now, they're not eating out all the time because they have to save money. And this whole idea of going to a grocery store and buying something and it being kind of semi-homemade is the way things are going because it's easy, it's affordable. How do we make that better? And even to this day, there's still not like the Chinese brand for that.
Right, there's not.
There's like an Annie Chai's, there's like these random brands, and I'm like, well, there's Mila right now. Yeah, but I mean like for food, like just meals, that still doesn't really exist.
Kathy, you have to do that.
I would love to.
No. Oh my God, that would be amazing. Okay, I love that because you could do so much with it. It could go so many different directions.
Yeah.
Like truly. That's amazing. Well, I just want you to know, and I want you to receive this. I've interviewed quite a lot of people. You are so funny.
Oh.
You are so beautiful. You are such a good mom. You are such a badass CEO. And I know it's a lot to juggle, and I'm sure there must be times like it is so overwhelming and you like want to pull your hair out, but you have just done it with such beauty and grace, and like I'm in awe of you. So like and thank you for keeping San Francisco going. Even though I wasn't born in San Francisco, I'm from the East Bay and I've lived here like in the city now for a long time. And it's been depressing to kind of see people leave and restaurants shut down, but you didn't. And now with everything kind of coming back, thank you for still being here, believing in San Francisco. Like it really means a lot to, I just know like the people that are still here. And you are such a beautiful and wonderful role model for, I think, young women. And I'm like so excited to see like what you have coming down. You know, your cookbook's coming out. I really hope you go into the CPG space and like these kind of pre-made meals is a great idea. And just thank you for everything you do for our city.
Oh my gosh. Oh, you're making me tear. Well, thank you. I mean, thank you for doing what you're doing because you're giving us a platform to share something that is very important for our city, right? Like, I think it takes people like you and I to remind people how beautiful our city is, and it's not what everybody says.
Thank you. It's not.
Right? Like, I mean, walk down the marina, it's freaking lively, can't find parking. I just want to eat and drink here. I'm like fighting for parking spots, you know? I'm about to get I have a story. We wanted to come because the weather's been so beautiful.
Amazing.
And we're like, let's go to the marina because it's always so fun. And we brought our kids. Probably we should have kept them at home that day. But we're like, let's bring them up. And we wanted to go to A16, but then they were so booked and we didn't plan ahead. So my husband was like, okay, I'm going to go find parking. Okay. And I walked, I was like, let's go to Ace Wasabi then because we can walk in today. We did it. And then my husband's like, we got to go. He's like, I can't find parking. It's crazy here. And I found a spot. And I was like, come. I'm like standing there. I'm like, I hope no one like hits me. I'm like, I don't know how long I can hold this before people are gonna yell at me, right? Because I know people are gonna hate me because everyone's trying to find parking. And this person drives up, and they're like, we want this spot. I was like, and my kids are just sitting like in the whole open dining area, right? And
God.
like they're sitting on their own there, and they're hungry, and they're like screaming.
Everyone's getting hangry.
Yeah,
Yes.
and my husband's getting hangry, and so my mom, like the mama bear thing, was just like I could give up the spot, and like it'll be chaos because my husband will scream to get the kids in the car. The kids will be screaming because they're hungry, and then we don't have a backup plan.
Full domino effect.
We need to leave the marina because we can't find parking. I was like, no, because my kids are there, like acting crazy because they just want some edamame. So I'm like, no. and I was like, they're like, what? I was like, no, the spot is mine. And I'm like, I'm saving it for my husband because my kids are hungry and we can't give up the spot. And he's like, you can't do that. I was like, why? He's like, because it's against the law. I was like, is it? I'm like, show me where it is.
Stop. Oh my God.
It was so crazy, but I won because
You did.
there were all these people who were behind him who are honking
their horns?
Yeah.
Stop.
Because they're like, move, right? And this guy's like, he's like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna like try to park? He's like, yeah. He's like, you better move. I'm like, are you gonna hit me with the car? And he's like, and then they're honking, so he drove off, and I was like, yes.
And that, my friends, is why you stick to your guns
Yeah.
and why having perseverance will get you what you want. That is insane. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So then did your husband get the spot?
He got the
So there was no massive family fight at the end.
No, but I mean, I did that all for the kids because if it was just like, you know, some girlfriends and I were like, we'll be like, let's just go somewhere else, right?
Totally.
It's like not worth it. And I'm not that person.
Right.
But I was like, in my gut, I was like, man, if I give this up, it's gonna be bad. Right? So I was like, no. I see my kids are like, I'm like, you're not taking this from me.
That was hilarious.
That
That is
person
such a
was
good
probably
story.
like, she's such a bitch. Making up the story about her daughter.
She has
like,
a kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's trying to meet her girlfriends for a cocktail.
Tequila shot.
She's just trying to go to the Tipsy Pig. Like,
That's so funny. I can't, I'm laughing. Okay, any last things we need to know? Oh, hello. Okay, only one dish. If you could only choose for us who want to go to Fang, if we can only choose one dish, what dish do we order at Fang? And what dish do we order at House of Nanking? Only one from each.
okay, if you get a Fang, you have to have the garlic shrimp broccoli.
Okay.
It sounds odd. I'm like, pick broccoli.
I love broccoli.
It is, I tell you, it is one of our most popular dish. I have people who come from Brazil for conferences and they'll jump in and we'll be like, first time here? He's like, yeah, first time here. We want 2 broccolis. I was like, have you had it before? He's like, no. But all our friends in Brazil tell us when you go to San Francisco, you have to have this dish. We have like men who don't like vegetables, right? Who come in and they're like, I'm here for the broccoli.
Oh
It is
my
so
God.
crazy. Yeah.
Oh my
They're
God.
like, I'm here for the broccoli and then we'll get other stuff, but broccoli first.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the true testament to why or how this dish is so popular and you can't miss it.
Okay.
And at House of Nanking, you really do have to get the classic like Nanking sesame chicken.
Okay.
But also our house sizzling fried rice that we make tableside.
The TikTok, you mean the TikTok
Yeah,
rice?
the TikTok rice. And then you gotta try our fish. Our
Okay.
fish like melts in your mouth. So you can do the poached version with the soy sauce. You can also do, there's like a pan fried version that's a little crispy. Can't miss the fish.
Okay. And then my last question, people want to know, where can we buy the House of Nanking sweatshirts?
You can actually buy them online.
Oh, you can?
There's fangkitchen.com.
Okay.
We have like the whole hoodie, like sweatpant thing, the combo, the t-shirt.
Like the merch, people are obsessed with.
They are. It's
Like obsessed. I did cute little I posted to my close friends and I was like interviewing Chef Kathy, like what any diehard questions I need to ask her. And A, it was skincare, but then B, people are like, oh, where do we buy the sweatshirts from? I'm like, okay, I'll ask. Okay, so online, Done. And where can everyone find you? Give us your socials, give us everything.
On Instagram, it's Chef Kathy Fang.
Okay.
And then I'm not on like Twitter or anything like that, or X, I guess that's what it's called.
You're not missing out.
I'm on TikTok also as Chef Kathy Fang.
Okay. Amazing.
And then I have a website, but I mean, do people use websites anymore?
For the merch.
Okay. Well, fangkitchen.com to get the merch. There's also kathyfang.com to like if you want to see other information. But like I feel Instagram's probably the most active because I kind of do daily stuff on there.
And when people go to Fang, are they allowed to say hi to you?
Of course, come find me.
Okay.
Like,
People are always
hi to
scared,
me.
and I'm like, I'll just ask. Okay, so people can say hi. What about saying hi to Peter?
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely say hi to Peter, but Peter may not smile back. That doesn't mean he doesn't like you. That's just how my dad is. He is who he is. Sometimes he's like in a good mood, sometimes he's in a bad mood. We don't know.
We love him.
Oh, and you can get the merch at the restaurants too. We sell it at Fang and House of Fang King.
Okay, amazing. I'm going this weekend to buy some because I need that sweatshirt.
Oh, we're gonna send you.
No. Thank you so much. Anything else that I forgot that we need to talk about that you can think of?
I'd like to know what's your favorite drink.
Martini. So I think you'll appreciate this. Have you been to London?
Yeah.
Okay, so I studied in London, and then I grew up always like vacationing there and going out to my family. My husband and I got married there, so we had everyone fly out to London. It was so fun. But growing up, my parents were big martini drinkers, and we always stayed at this hotel called Duke's. And Duke's Hotel is in St. James, and it is quintessential boutique London hotel, and it's where Ian Fleming was inspired to write James Bond, and that's where he got the idea of the martini, is from this hotel and from the bar. So I always grew up there, always watching my parents have martinis there. And then, the drinking age in Europe is 18, so I was legal. When I was 18 studying abroad, my mom and I, we had a girls trip, and we went to Duke's. And so when I had my first alcoholic beverage was a martini.
Wow. Dang, girl, you're
No.
like, I'm going all in.
No,
that's the line. Just like, give me a martini.
I was like, I want the martini. I want the best girl. I want the best martini. But what is so cute now is like, the staff knows me, and they know my family, and they don't know my husband. But and I'm definitely giving a massive secret right there. They might make me edit this out. The Duke's Hotel has a secret underground passage to Buckingham Palace.
What?
And the Queen, after hours, when Duke's would shut down, and like people would be, not the hotel or in bed at the hotel, she and her team, she's so cute. She would take her tunnel, walk the tunnel because they're like kitty corner, and go to Duke's and have a secret martini. And there is
That's the coolest story.
It's so cute, and that's where she went. I think they told us she was there 3 weeks before she passed away. She had her last martini at Duke's. But Alessandro, he is the head martini maker. He's very, very famous in London. And I remember meeting him when I was like 5 and 6, and now he was so cute. He like did all of our martinis for our wedding guests. Like it's just a beautiful like kind of love story too. They only serve 2. You're only allowed 2, and then that's because they're so lethal. So that's my favorite martini ever. But then if I have to choose one in the city, I also do love tequila. And I love shots. And you know what? If you and I weren't doing an 11 a.m. podcast, if we were to do, we did like a later section, we would have said, we're going to do our martinis.
I will wear the gondola. I'll be like, wait, what are they talking about?
Your kids will not be picked up today. I'll tell you. They will not be picked up.
I'm like, what kids? They're like, you have kids, right? I'm like, oh, yeah.
Wait, I do? Chef Kathy, you're the angel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This is the best time ever.
That was sweet.